Hello everyone, welcome to the weekly market outlook and SG market discussion on the 22nd of August 2021. It's time for us to go through the no frill market discussion, and hopefully for the past week's discussion has benefited your trade in the market. Let's start off with the US market outlook and take a look at how the US indices has performed. Now, you are looking at the screen where we are looking at the Dow, as I have been following the Dow religiously, covering the US indices in the video. We are now tracking the progress of the Dow. And I mentioned last week that the FOMC is coming, and of course it is past right now, because last week they actually talked about tapering the QE program at the end of 2021. And of course, if you look at the chart right now, we are looking at Dow rebounding from the low. But before that, Dow was inching very close to our previous target over here. But of course, FOMC market fears push it down to back to this support level at 34712. And the good thing is the Dow managed to hold at the support level and rebounded nicely from there on the last day of trading for the week. And with that, the Dow has formed a new minor resistance at 35645, thereabout. Okay, so if next week the market can continue to move higher, so it is very important for the Dow to hit 35645, because if the Dow doesn't hit that, of course, there might be signs of change in trend, but we're going to look at it next week when we have this video again. So if next week we have the Dow testing 35645 and break out from there, the uptrend would continue. But if it doesn't break out from there or don't even test there, then of course we are facing a potential change in trend. Next, let's move to S&P 500. S&P 500 is the same as the Dow. We are looking at S&P 500 managed to rebound from its support at 4373. And before that, it forms a minor resistance at 4483. So similar to the Dow, the same kind of outlook that we are talking about right now is that the S&P 500 has to test 4483 next week. If we fail to test this resistance, of course, we have to relook at the situation, and we may expect some potential change in trend. But of course, we can't finalize it because we won't know what is going to happen next week. Okay, so if the market do keep itself bullish, then of course we have more positive outlook. Then we talk about NASDAQ 100. So NASDAQ 100 this time around is similar to S&P 500 and the Dow. Why? Because it has also rebounded from its support level, and the support level that it has tested and rebound is 14779, and it has a resistance at 15185. So it got to break it, then it can hit our target at 15438. Okay, so next week we have a few things to look out for as well. So the things that we are going to look out for is, of course, number one, the China tech sectors, will they continue to sell down? So last week we have experienced a lot of selling on the China tech sector. So why did I bring this up? Right, if we were to blame the market pulling back last week, or has the downside of the market last week, all attribute to FOMC, I think that is not the only reason. One of the other reason is that the market fear of China slowdown, and of course 1.5 trillion worth of the tech stocks value had been wiped out. So if the tech continue its selling, of course it will put up a drag. Okay, so it will create a drag, and the US tech counters may feel some pinch, especially those tech counters that are heavily linked to China. So we have to take a look at that situation. And next is that, of course, the next week we have Jackson Hole, right? The Fed is expected to communicate its plan for slowing its 120 billion per month asset purchase program. So this is the first step down the route to eventually interest rate hikes. So so of course, when they start to you know reduce the QE, of course, interest rate will start to comes in, interest rate hike, I would say. And next week, we are looking at the US market. We have existing home sales, new home sales, durable goods order, initial jobless claims. So all these are key economic data. So if all these are the reasons to create the choppy markets, of course, we are going to see a potential sideway going forward. Okay, so so of course, from the technical perspective, I already shared with you all the resistances that we need to watch for all the indices. Okay, so next week is kind of like key to us as well. Let's move on to STI. So last week we were here. So just to make a marker over here, we were here saying that the STI has already broken low, and then of course we hope that there's some recovery coming at this part of the chart where my cursor right now is hovering. But unfortunately, the index continue to sell down. So I actually did not share this with you. If I were to draw a channel over here, so you can see the channel, and we can see that the STI has been on a channel trading. So if I were to put it somewhere around here, so you can see a channel trading where the lows over here, they are very nicely supported by this upper trend line, or rather this trend line. And after we have covered in the video, the STI actually broke below the trend line, and the attempt to rebound over here did not succeed to close above the trend line. As such, these are signs that the market are weakening, and of course, thereafter we see the index continue to sell down to push to test its major support at around 3089. So Friday we have seen some rebound as the index closes above its support level, but we need more sign. So one of the key signs to look out for is, of course, the index to close above this level 3115. Hopefully it can close as a nice white candle at 3124. Okay, now if the index closes higher, this is where I just like to touch on back on this trend line that I have drawn earlier. So I'm going to draw it back, and then once the market starts to rebound, do watch for this particular level around 3148 or 3150. So the index has to come back above this level so that it can sort of like break any potential downtrend sign, and then continue to move higher to either move into a huge sideways trend, or it can start to form a mini uptrend. So we got to see next week, can we achieve a higher closing at the end of the week. Next, we are going to look at how do we achieve that. So we are going to go into individual stocks. Let's start off with the banks. I do admit that after looking at the banks chart, we do have a chance to rebound next week. So start off with DBS. DBS is right now sitting above its 50-day MA with a bullish Harami cross. Okay, so Harami cross over here needed a nice white candle closing. So imagine this is a white candle, so we have a nice white candle closing above this 20-day MA. As such, we may have a chance for more upward movement, especially when DBS crossed above 30.88. So what do we see here is that if I were to plot a trend line over here, okay, so we have a channel here. So we want to see this closing, right, above this trend line so that it can resume back its upward movement to hit the 3088, and then eventually maybe 3114 or even higher. So let's see whether DBS can, right, give a confirmation to this bullish reversal candle pattern. OCBC doesn't look as nice as DBS, as it closed below all its MA supports. So the only thing that we can take comfort with is that OCBC is still above its support over here. So we have a lot of support here from 11, in fact, let me be more accurate, 1145 to 1161. So these are the support zone, key support zone for OCBC. The last line of defense is of course over here, where we have this major support around 1132. So if it breaks through all this support, all hell break loose, we may even see OCBC coming close to $11. So, right, very importantly, next week we need OCBC to clear above all this MA. The best it can close at 12 or above 1199, then we have a good chance to see more upside. So UOB, very similar to DBS. So we have seen this UOB holding at its support level, and we need a white candle confirmation for rebound. As such, we would like to see it test 2639 resistance level. It's a major resistance level because it got tested 3 times already, and UOB hasn't been able to break through from there. So we like it to go to 2639 to resume its uptrend. Move on to the tech counters. So we have seen a very bad week for the tech counters. Most of the tech counters, I would say, not all, but most of them. So let's start off with the worst one. Then we move on to the better ones. Okay, so starting with number one, the worst performing tech counter is Nanofirm. So as I covered last week, Nanofirm has announced a disappointing set of results, and as such, the market actually hasn't been very kind. It actually pushed it down with a lower opening. So this lower opening is already around 10%, which pushed Nano to its major support. Then the market fiercely continued its selling to push Nano all the way down to 28%. And the selling continued the next day to push it lower to 35%. So of course, during all this action, we can see Nano's support has been broken, and the next support is 367, with analysts coming out with all the downgrades. And of course, during this period, there are also a lot of announcement coming out from Nano, where they came out to calm the investors by explaining why the COO resigned, and then also explaining why they hasn't been able to communicate properly, and next time they promise they will communicate properly. And of course, during this period, they have also spent around, if not wrong, about 20 million to buy back their shares to shore up their share price to calm the market. But technically, what do we see here? We see this as a very long flagpole, and of course, we see the rebound over here, right, with a declining volume. So this may be a bull trap, okay, with the question in mind is that how long Nano can continue its shares buyback. Okay, so if they have the money to do the share buyback, why don't they use this money to grow their business instead? So basically, they have attributed lower EPS growth or because of the expenditure in setting up the Shanghai plant. So if they have the money to do share buyback, why would they not actually use that to pay off the Shanghai plant, or using this 20 million to make their accounts look even better? So of course, that's a side that we cannot find answer to. But if we were to follow the technical, a heavy selling, follow through heavy selling on Monday or next week, we may see more downward action. So of course, if this is a bearish pattern that the market is looking at together with us, of course, Nano firm has a projected target at 177. So, will this really come true? So there's a few things that we need to look out for. So Nano firm has to break below 368. Of course, that is the number one key observation, together with volume as high as around 14 to 15 million. If the volume is even higher to about 22 million, then we know that the market is full of intention to push it down. And of course, the projected target is just a reference number. Will it really hit there? I really can't say 100%. But what we would hope that is that the situation isn't that bad. Okay. Then the second worst is ISDN. Ever since after the result announcements, which was covered last week, ISDN hasn't been able to stop its selling pressure as it pushed all the way down. And I mentioned that 68 cents is the support level to look out for, and it actually tested it and breaks below this support level. And then what do we see is that ISDN now is going towards its next support level at 605, which is a key support level with the 200-day MA currently sitting at that level as well. So the counter is grossly oversold, and I really don't see the reason why it should be performing like this, the only thing that I can think of is that due to the tech sector sell-off in the Hong Kong market, ISDN has a dual listing status where it has also list in Hong Kong as well as Singapore. So the Hong Kong side or the investor in Hong Kong side may took the opportunity to sell off ISDN together with the rest of the other tech counters in Hong Kong. So therefore pushing ISDN to its low. So but fundamentally and the result wise is actually very strong and very encouraging. So I would think that if this counter were to hit support level at 605, probably we can start to ambush this counter. And you look at stochastic over here, it is really at the very, very low level. And there's this thing in technical analysis is called the indicator support. And if you were to look right historically, and I'm going to plot a line over here, you have seen ISDN stochastic level hit this low level, okay, all this low level. And if I were to plot a vertical line, let's plot vertical line, right? We do see ISDN recovered from its low after hitting this line. Of course, except for this during this period where the sell-off continue, but eventually the counter still rebound. So here we do see recovery and recovery. And now, do we see any recovery? So most of the time, we do see some sort of recovery, especially during this period of this period onwards. Why this period onwards is important? Because these are the period where the earnings of ISDN getting stronger and stronger. These periods are still very much unknown, where the market hasn't been paying attention to ISDN. So here we want to see when the market is really focusing on this counter, how did it perform? So we see a very good recovery from there. So will ISDN recover right now? So we're going to watch further. So next, we're going to look at the better counter. Okay, the third worst is AEM, where we failed to hold at the support level. So last week we were at this 20-day MA, then AEM actually sold down, negating this support, and then right now is sitting at the 50-day MA support, and which confluence with its horizontal supports. So here we have to look out very closely whether AEM can rebound and go back above its 20-day MA, because it is crucial. If it cannot and breaks below its 200-day MA, of course, we may see a downward trend forming, and the projected target can be as low as 3.54. Now, of course, if AEM continue to sell off, are we going to expect a long-term downtrend? Actually, I kind of like don't expect a long-term downtrend. Yes, some sell off, but after it start to bottom at around the worst, I think for now is 326. So if we start to hit this level at 326 or 328, then we may see some market buying action coming in again, pushing this counter higher. So we shall see and watch whether it will break support next week. Franken still managed to hang on to its top and then hovering at the top right now, but it doesn't look very bullish as well, because indicators are weakening as it hovers at the top. So it is quite indecisive right now. And then from the chart, we apparently cannot tell whether this trend can really continue unless we see some clear action when we have a solid white candle above 232 or a solid black candle below 209. So we have to watch what is going to happen next week. Basically, these two levels are crucial to Franken. Next, the better looking counter, the best looking counter, I would say, right? The UMS result good, chart good, even good result, no sell off, right? This season of earnings, good result, bad result, the market also sell. So it will be a rare moment if it's a good result and the market doesn't sell. Okay, so we see UMS holding at this 20-day MA, and once it forms a white candle above 171, it may have a chance to hit 178 resistance. So we're going to watch closely and see where UMS can hit to. Let's move on to the transport. As we are opening up, more and more rules are relaxed, and then the Singapore has already set up the vaccine travel where there's no longer a need for German to SHN in Singapore when they travel to Singapore if they are vaccinated. So SIA is kind of like disappointing. Last week we were here. The nice white candle above the 100-day MA suggests some strength, but unfortunately no buyer follow through. So it actually went down to test support, and it has gone as low as this horizontal support level and managed to rebound on Friday, but the whole chart has been distorted. So seems like we're going to see more action. So the news that the traveling setup between Singapore and German has been announced since last Thursday, if not wrong. But the counter hasn't reacted very positively. So we've got to see the next course of action. So support at around 496 to 494 is going to be closely watched. And then 515 is the reason to watch. SIA Engineering still got resisted by its MA, very hard to break through. So it's a long wait for us. I would just wait patiently to see whether it will break its resistance or eventually break its support. From the candle perspective, the chances of breaking resistance seems to be very slim. So, but there's nothing much for me to analyze anyway. So we're just going to watch. SATS, I mentioned that there is a chance for it to break up last week. Okay, so SATS has done that. So congrats to those who are holding SATS, and we are looking at SATS moving towards its 422 resistance right now with a very strong breakout with an extreme volume over here. So there's a good chance for SATS to continue to move up higher. Then the surprise counter last week is also Union Gas, as Union Gas has also announced a disappointing set of results. But the result wasn't that bad, but the performance is as bad as Nanofirm, as investors took this opportunity to offload their position and then push the counter down to as much as 29.1% since it has broken low. So seems like last Friday or the Friday before was the Friday the 13th. It spoke the market, all this counter that's announced result on that day, and actually those counter like Nanofirm, Union Gas announced their result on the 13th of August, have actually or somewhere around 13th of August has actually performed very badly, or some attributed to ghost month. So that's why we see such a bad performance. So either way, I think the best opportunity from us to look at for the market for some trading opportunity will be DBS and we'll be looking at UMS. I do see some potential sign for Union Gas to rebound, but it is still unclear whether this selling is over as yet. No doubt there is some uncertainty in its selling off of this recent sell off. So probably we will watch whether Union Gas will from here go sideways or continue its downtrend. All right, so with this, I would like to thank you for watching this video. So if if you think it's good, of course, I would appreciate some likes to give me the strength to continue this. Of course, if you have any questions, you can post to me. So with this, I'd like to end the video, and I will see you next week. Good day, and have a good week ahead.